Welcome to another episode of Overnight Success. My name is Maiwaido, and today I'm joined by hyphenated creative Jess Finesse, Chibueze.
Come on, yes, you got all the names.
Yeah.
What's poppin', Myla?
I'm okay. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
You want to tell the people why?
When you say why?
Thank you for agreeing to do this on a very last minute peak because of the love that I have for you.
Yes, on the very last minute peak because of the love you have for me.
And culture custodian, what y'all do?
Exactly. So, yeah. When we do these interviews, I start by asking a slightly silly question, but just to try and kind of get an idea of the way you see the world.
Okay.
So, let's imagine you witness Robin Hood robbing a bank and money with you.
Okay.
But he goes and shares the money with poor people. But as someone who has witnessed what happened, you have two options. You can either go and report him to the police and there's a 1 million naira reward waiting for you, or you can just keep quiet and act like nothing happened. What do you do?
So this at my big age, I'm going with option 2. I'm going to keep quiet like nothing happened.
Okay, but at your small age, why would you have chosen the other way?
Because I've been taught or conditioned that that's the right thing to do. Because I'm growing older, I'm there's certain things that are blatantly wrong to me, right? I do believe that there's a concrete right and a concrete wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But then as I'm growing older, I'm also believing that I don't know if it's the immediate thing to look at certain things as right versus wrong. There's certain situations where I don't know if there's a right or wrong.
So there's lots of gray
area. I'm a very gray babe, as you can see. I'm a very gray area babe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Maya Waido. I'm a lawyer, writer, and journalist, and I'm also editor-in-chief of Culture Custodian. Overnight Success is an interview series where I speak to some of my favorite creators and entrepreneurs on the journeys and stories that got them to where they are. That is, young, successful people doing interesting things. I don't think there's any such thing as an overnight success, or is there? Find out more by watching this video. And when you're done, please subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, and share it with as many people as possible. Thank you. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Overnight Success. Yeah. So, you were born in Virginia and you grew up in Virginia.
Yes, sir.
So talk to me about growing up in Virginia, the land of Pusha T and Pharrell.
That's everybody's go-to when they talk about Virginia. Funny enough, whenever people ask where I'm from in America, I will say the DMV before I say Virginia.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because when the people that don't know, when they now ask me or I now say Virginia, I have to say, oh yeah, the one that's close to Washington D.C. because there's not that many things that Virginia is known for other than some of our very famous artists that many of us look up to are from there. But yeah, tell you about Virginia. That's the state my parents chose to settle in once they migrated from Nigeria to the United States. I think my dad went to school in Texas. Then I don't know how he found his way to Virginia and decided that was where he was going to, raise a family with my mom. So it's not like I had a choice. That place is boring. So if I had a choice, I don't know if I'd be born in Virginia, but given the circumstance, Virginia is where I was born and raised. But yeah, I don't know what interesting thing. Maybe you should ask me a more specific, pointed question about Virginia.
I mean, it's not like there's a particular answer I wanted. It's just to kind of obviously just get an idea.
Yeah.
So, off that, so you spoke about obviously your parents migrating from Nigeria to the States.
Yes.
So, how were you able to build and find your identity as as someone of obviously Nigerian heritage, but being born and growing up in an environment that's obviously is in the diaspora and it's not your immediate origin? So how did you find identity as a diaspora babe?
I think there was one point I had I don't know, it's not a midlife crisis because I wasn't at my midlife when I had this crisis, but I had some type of blatant realization about how I feel like I don't fit in right? Now I'm very comfortable. I'm full-blooded Nigerian. Like, yeah, I have a blue passport. Yeah, I was born and raised there. I'm Nigerian, like 100%. There was a time where, when I was growing up, I was very ignorant and blind to a lot of that, like a lot of the just realities of being a dual citizen or like being a Nigerian living in a Nigerian living in America, being a first generation Nigerian American, all these different identities. When I was growing up, my name is Jessica. Um, I would say like, oh, I'm from America, but like my parents are from Nigeria. I was, I went to I went to a diverse like nursery or preschool, then went to a predominantly white elementary school for like the first few years of my primary school education. I was in a predominantly white. Then I transitioned into a predominantly white school, was like a private Catholic school. Then midway through my primary school education, I now transitioned into like a very diverse public school where I saw other Black people and saw other Africans that were like my extended family that migrated to the U.S. Right. So I do a 2-year stint of boarding school in Nigeria.
Where did you
Is the school's in Abia State. I don't
go?
know if you don't know it. It's not all.
I mean, it's part of your story, but yeah.
Okay, but it's not in the when they talk about secondary schools of Nigeria. It's not there.
No, that doesn't matter.
Okay, so anyway, that 2-year stint in boarding school is where this crisis I think began, because after the 2 years of boarding school, came back to Yankee, and all my friends that knew me as like Jessica before I went to school in Nigeria were all treating me like a foreigner, or like there's this insult like fresh off the boat, because now I had an accent.
Yeah.
Now like I'm 2 years in boarding school where all we're wearing is like uniform. I don't know how to I'm not fashionable.
Yeah.
I'm the person carrying the big heavy backpack with like thick glasses. So the way that they were relating with me before I moved to Nigeria versus when I came back, completely different. And I was like, bro, that's when I realized like, okay, dang, I'm actually different. And I actually am Nigerian and I can't hide it anymore. Before, when I had like a full-blooded American accent, I'm from Virginia, but my parents are from Yankee. Maybe I was mispronouncing my son name incorrectly. Then I go to Nigeria. All of a sudden, I have this like my culture slaps me in the face. I assume this identity. I come back. I can't hide it anymore. Then I'm like, okay, wow, yeah, I'm not really American. So I think from that moment on, that's where my Nigerian pride sprouted from. It's not like I didn't have Nigerian pride before, but like I had nothing to hold on to. Like I was immersed in Nigeria secondhand. I have this primary like firsthand experience. I come back and I'm like, yeah, I'm Nigerian. And that's when I have a bond with Nigeria. And then that's when I realized like there's just a lot of just differences and like a lot of contention with my identities, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I didn't know that you did like 2 years of boarding school here.
Yeah,
but talk to me about that experience. So why did your parents decide that, they were going to send you back like to go to boarding school? How old were you when this happened?
I was 12.
So this is what, like year 7, year 8?
Year 6 or like the 6th grade.
Okay. Yeah, so you came into secondary school. So
I entered the secondary school and I did JS2 and JS3.
Okay, so that's so just 2, just 3. So talk to me about that experience of like moving back. Why did your parents feel like they wanted you back here, and what was that experience like for you as someone who obviously hadn't really been in Nigeria prior?
So I had come to Nigeria prior, but it was always that whole like
holiday,
go to father's village. Yeah. You only spend 2 seconds in the airport. Don't know what Lagos is like because you go from Lagos and Murtala Mohammed straight to Sam Mbakwe Airport, straight to your father's village, and then you just rinse and repeat. But anyway, so answered in 2 parts. Why I went to boarding school for 2 years is because my parents. The easiest way to summarize is my parents said their kids were too American and they needed to Nigerianize us. The best way they saw fit was to send us to boarding school.
Okay.
In hindsight, like I don't know if that was the best decision or the worst decision, but like in hindsight, now that I'm like how many decades, like how many years has passed, I appreciate the experience. Definitely in hindsight, because when I was in it, I'm like, what is this? The standard MO is for those of us that our parents were born in Nigeria, then they migrate to America, or migrate to the West, and then they bear children and raise the children here. If you are considered like a bad child, if you're truant, you're disrespectful, you're failing in school, you did one too many fights, they suspend their MO is to
Send you back here, yeah.
So that wasn't my MO.
Yeah.
Never got suspended. I mean, typical preteen angst of maybe back talking to your parents, but nothing like so egregious that it's like, yo, we're shipping you to Nigeria. They were just like, bro, you're too American and we need you to learn your culture. So I didn't reconcile with that at first because I'm like, so why can't you just give me a book to read? Like, what? It felt like punishment. Like, are there not easier or like softer ways to assimilate your children into Nigerian culture without like shipping them to boarding school, when the perception was that all the people I know, all the kids that I know that went to boarding school
was because they were bad.
Because they were bad. So I couldn't understand that. Go to boarding school. First year was hell, but then the second year was great, and I actually wanted to stay, but they said I couldn't stay because I have to come back to America to do high school and then go to uni, which I find very ironic because it's like my parents saying, "Oh, you're not Nigerian." And when I say okay, it's like saying this. My parents were like, "You're not Nigerian enough. Want you to learn your culture. Go to Nigeria, right?"
And then you learn it.
You don't want to go, right?
Yeah.
You go. Then you finally start liking it. It's like, "Oh, we're gonna take you out now. You need to go back to America."
You've learned it enough.
Yeah. It's like, dang, I actually wanted to stay. I wanted to become a prefect. I wanted to rain vengeance on some people's younger siblings that were my juniors. Like I had a whole plan. Like I remember they told me like, you're probably gonna be a deputy senior prefect when I was pressed. I was really proud. Like dang, like I want to work my way up the ranks. And then I couldn't even do SS1 and do SS3 and then become a prefect.
Okay, so when I was to your background, so I think
what you dig at?
I'm not gonna tell you. You'll know when I answer when I ask you the question.
Touché.
But something that kind of came across was like there was a sense and a culture of wanting to give back. So I got the impression you were traveling to Uganda, and it also kind of informed the minor you chose at like university level.
You really did.
I got
Where's the shovel? Or where's the code? Well done.
So talk to me, because I imagine that, I guess because obviously as someone of Nigerian heritage in a society where it's not your primary society, and then obviously having that experience of having come back, how much did that shape your the idea and the philosophy of wanting to give back and be of value to your people like you?
That desire 100% came from my spirituality, or had religious undertones. And missionary work is something that is very close and very interconnected with the Christian belief. The Uganda came before the going to school for nonprofit studies, so it's a very long story. We're not gonna have enough time to dig into the story of how did that happen. But I had gone on a missionary trip to Uganda in 2011.
Okay.
I had no religious inclination to go the first time. I went for very selfish, self-interest reasons. Okay.
What were the reasons?
I had just graduated high school and it was time for me to go to university, and I wanted to be able to brag when we got to class, when they asked you, "Oh, what did you do during the summer?" Some people were like, "Oh, I went to Spain with my family for this. Oh, I did this. Oh, I did that." Me, I wanted to say, "Oh, I went to Uganda to do medical mission." That's what drove me there. But when I went there, I literally had a life-changing experience that slapped me in the face, and I was like, "Yeah, this is deeper than just coming here to just say you're helping
people,
the less privileged or something." That's what informed my desire to get a minor in nonprofit studies.
Okay.
To know how to run and operate NGOs, assuming I was going to take that path in my postgraduate career.
Okay. And you majored in international relations.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. Why that?
I can't even lie. When it was time to apply for university, the school I ended up, I applied to, I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 universities, right? I got accepted into all except one. The one I didn't get accepted into I was waitlisted, right? The one...
You want to name a shame?
I can't remember the name. All I know is that the first school I got accepted into was Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
I wanted to go there. My parents said, "Heck no, you're not going there."
Why?
I can't remember. And I was crying. I was like, bro, my whole entire, I went through this whole high school for you people. Let me now choose the school I want to go to. And I was really resonating with Howard, and they said no. So what ended up happening? The school that I chose, that I put my major as international relations. I thought I wasn't gonna go there.
Okay.
Right. I ended up having my parents, say, see, you're staying in States, and you're gonna go to this school, right? This makes the most logical sense. So I had, when I was applying for the school, I was haphazard. I'm like, yo, I'm just gonna put international studies, and then I'm not gonna go there. So like, what's my business? So when I ended up having to go to that school, that was the major, and I wasn't gonna change it. And I was like, okay, international studies seems like, something that is of interest to me. I want to know how, different world governments or like countries interact with each other and like, it just sounded interesting, so I maintained it. When I was now in it, like doing courses and stuff, I was like, hey, I'm aligned with this. And then that's skip a few of those things happened, and then a nonprofit organizational minor came about, and I now took it. And then a global and community health minor came about, and then I took it. So my double minors of global and community health, public health, and NGO studies, I didn't forecast me doing those minors when I first entered school.
Yeah.
It, like, going to Uganda and doing a lot of, humanitarian aid informed those decisions to me to get those degrees to supplement my international studies. But like at first I wasn't planning on reading international studies.
Okay. So what's your university experience like? I have a friend who went to uni with you, and I was trying to get them.
You have a friend who went to uni with me?
Onia, did she go to uni?
Okay, stop it. Shout out to Onia.
Yeah, so but I was trying to get her to like give me expo, but she didn't. But
she loyal.
But what was that experience like for you?
I don't know if I utilized my university experience as much as I could.
I think everyone has that, feels like that. I feel like that.
Some people be like, yo, they networked this and they joined a sorority now, and now they're fraternity brothers, help them get jobs. Like that was not my experience. I hardly networked. I rarely talked to anybody from my university, not because the people I connected with weren't good people. I'm just naturally not. I'm a very
introverted person. Would you say that?
I'm very introverted.
Okay.
My job, I know how to be extroverted, but if you left me at my core.
So you're performing when you're doing that.
I'm not performing. I'm not performing. If I have a mic in my hand, I'm performing. But like, I'm naturally introvert. Like, if you left me on my own, I'd be very to myself. It could be since I moved back to Niger. I don't know, cause that's a different conversation. But now I feel safer to be in my own space.
Okay.
But my university experience, I didn't utilize it as well as I could. I just was like, remember, I didn't even want to go to that school. So I think even with that introductory attitude, it followed me the whole way. I was like,
were you on campus or were you at home?
I was at campus.
Okay. At some point, you decide that you're going to move back to Nigeria to do NYC.
Yes.
And you wind up in Ogun State.
Yes.
So talk to me about how this girl from Virginia who had been to Nigeria, maybe spent 2 years properly, but then decided that they wanted to come back and be like, see what was going on. Or what exactly inspired you to make that decision?
So I will say the thing that inspired me, or the first seeds that were sown, was the 2 years I did boarding school.
Interesting.
So I will date it back all the way to like 2005.
Interesting.
So this whole notion of like the steps you take in life, or like the actions you do, they add up and they contribute to like where you are in your present state. I 100% subscribe to that belief. Those first seeds were sown when I went to boarding school, because that's where I found identity. That's when I now fully embraced being a Nigerian, fully understanding that I am Nigerian. And then I was like, okay, this is the culture that I wasn't born into. I experienced it secondhand, but now that I've experienced it, I want to know more. So high school comes, uni comes, I come to Nigeria to visit my dad, I think in 2013 or something, another life-changing experience. And then I was like, yeah, I need to come back here.
So did your dad move back here?
Yes, my dad lives in Nigeria.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he lives in Imo State.
Oh, okay.
He's been here since when I came here for boarding school.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have another life alter. I have a lot of these like mini life-changing experience. It sounds cliche, but I'm a very deep person. So I feel everything just too deeply for no reason. People, bro, What's
star sign are you?
Sorry?
What star sign are you?
I'm an Aries. I don't know if that correlates.
I don't know shit about shit. With regard to that, I just wanted to. I just thought it was a good question.
Sure. Yeah. So I just had like these very independent, but then low key they were probably connected experiences when I came in 2013, and then I was like, yeah, I need to come back to Nigeria, but I didn't have a way. Like I didn't have a way to come back. Like I didn't have an avenue. I don't have a rich uncle that will come be like, oh yeah, come and work in my company. I don't have any person that can connect me anywhere at that time, right? Then remember, so I've been going to Uganda since 2011. Like I've gone every year between 2011 to like 2015 or 16 or something like that. So this 2013 experience, I have gone to Uganda twice. So the going to Uganda was me already giving back to Africa, or provide like working in my perceived, this is what I'm gonna do post grad career, right?
Yeah.
Then I come to Nigeria, and then I'm meeting all these different types of people who are like, I don't know if it's guilt. I don't know, because it was, I think it was one of the some subsidy strike. Like there was oil subsidy, so then there was a national strike or something.
I remember.
So everybody was at home.
So this was like in the December, January
This was
period?
December, January period.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
Okay.
So you came back to Nigeria for NYC.
Yes, sir.
You could have gone back when you were done, if you wanted to.
Yes.
So what inspired you staying on? Because you're still here, and it's been what, like? It's been.
I said, so why am I still here, bro?
It's been almost 10 years.
Stop it. No, it hasn't. Don't do that.
Hasn't it?
No.
When did you come back?
I moved back to do NYC in 2016.
Okay, so it's been.
Then I went back to Yankee for like 10, 11 months. And then the move back where I've been back since is December 2017.
Okay,
so I've been here since on my ones like this, hustling and looking for my daily 2K since December 2017.
Okay, so 2016 was when you decided.
Of 2016. I was rounding up my service year.
Yeah.
And the simple answer without giving context, without going deep, right? The thing that made me stay back was the music industry, if I'm being honest. Now, if I give you...
I honestly thought that was it.
Yeah, it's the music industry.
Yeah, I thought that was it.
But it wasn't like some defined, like, I know what I'm going to do. No. It was a simple, once again, another minute event that happened in my life that I just dipped deeper than probably was supposed to be. And that's what informed my decision to be like, yeah, I think I want to do this.
I assumed it was something that had to do with like you just basically coming and witnessing, obviously, the wave of creativity that was like taking over like Nigerian music.
I mean, that's facts. That's technically yes, right? Because like I said, everything is just deep to me. So I'm having, if I'm going to contextualize this statement just now, so it was a thing of, remember, I'm going to my PPA during the week, then on the weekend, and I was staying on the mainland at this time, right?
Okay.
So then every weekend I will try to figure out how to get to the island, and then I'll get to the island, and then that's when...
Was this like 90s baby time?
90s baby time. Yeah, maybe 90s baby was like growing or like in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because the 90s baby, I remember I went to one time. I can't read. I think it was when I had moved back in 2017. So I don't even know if I've gone to a 90s baby in that my service year.
Yeah.
Because actually, if I'm being technical, 2016, what I was being exposed to, that was that wave of creativity in the music industry, was actually mainstream commercial Nigerian.
Yeah.
Not even like this alternative new gen that many people know me for. I was actually exposed to Nigerian music industry from a mainstream standpoint before I came to this side. So going to the island, and as I'll go to the island, I'll just experience these very head-busting experiences. Like going to a club, you think that thing is small. That thing was busting my head. Like, wow, so there's a club that can play straight African music start to finish. Coming from Yankee, where it's like, oh, they would do 30 minutes of Caribbean music, and then the rest is like Black people music or like American music, right?
Yeah.
Then you're now coming to like a different culture, even though it's your culture, and even though maybe, like I said, people might think of it as like it's not that deep. It was very deep to me because I'm like, wow, we have our own ecosystem. Like this is the Nigerian version of what.
Do you know why this thing isn't well to me? You're not the only person I know who had that experience that you had in terms of. I have like a friend who kind of had the same thing.
Were they like?
They were raised in America.
Okay.
So raised in America, And then once they were done with uni, they wanted to come back. Their parents thought they were mad, and they're like, "I'm coming back," and they've basically just stayed that long. So and I think in this person's case, if I'm correct, I think it was just like not having to deal with like the microaggressions of like racism in America, and then just coming to a place where you are surrounded by people who look like you, sound like you, who have like obviously shared like heritage with you, and so it's not like I understand.
It's not far-fetched.
Yeah, it's not far-fetched. Like I fully get it.
Cool. I feel seen. My chest is going like this. Okay. So yeah, it was just very eye-opening. Like there's this is how they so even if I backtrack a little bit. So my first exposure to this like Afro, what we're battling as Afro beats or Afro pop, like is when the top artists at the time were coming to America to do like club tour or like club shows. These are like renting out popular clubs spaces or in very Nigerian clustered key cities or whatever.
Like the DMV, Houston, that type of thing.
New York, all that stuff. So they would come to DC. I would go and see them, and they were like demigods to me. I was like, wow, this is the person that made, this. I remember I saw a Wizkid show. This is what I think he was still under EME, so it was a Wizkid Banky scale show. Yeah. And they were doing it at Howard University in like one auditorium like that or something, and it was insane. Like it wasn't like it was a huge like look, we're seeing Wizkid at O2. I'm talking about this is like a theater of 300 seats or something. And I was just in awe, bro. And I was like, bro, like this is mad. So to not be in the country where this content or like this music is being created, like, huge. Being in like the studio and seeing them create a beat, I was there with my notepad and just taking notes and stuff. And it was funny because at the time, right, when I first moved back, it was like, so there's this thing where those of us that moved back is like we're like fresh meats. You're like the shiny new object.
How did you be now?
Sorry?
How did you be?
I didn't understand that. So like when I first came back, it was like, oh my God, come here, do this, come here. We want you there, we want you here. And I didn't know at first. Like I thought it was like, oh, genuine like love, like, oh, you want to take me around. I'm not saying that maybe those experiences weren't genuine, but then it was also fueled by, okay, 3 years living here now, nobody's asking me, oh, come here, do this,
Yeah.
Now they're asking me come here, do this because they want something from you. Like maybe,
but that's because you've built capital.
I built capital. At the time, I didn't have capital. It was just maybe like Yankee babe that just came. Let's carry her everywhere. So they'll carry you to places where maybe they just want you to sit and be docile and pretty or something. Meanwhile, they're asking questions like, "Oh, what does this do? Oh, what does this do? This song you're making, like this part you put in here, is this a sample? Like, how are you gonna clear? I didn't know what clearing and sample. I didn't know what any of that meant. Because I had no exposure to the music industry at all. My first exposure to the music industry at all was in Nigeria. So
that's interesting to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. What is my business? I will be downloading my CDs off LimeWire, be buying CD from the CD store to listen to my Walkman. Like that's it. But coming here is when I was exposed to it in a place where it's like you're in front of this. You're witnessing the song creation process. You're on a music video set watching them shoot a video. And I'll be sitting there for hours just so intrigued that this is how they make the content that, they're showing us in America, and we're thinking like, oh my God, this is our Wizkid, this is our Inyanya, this is our whatever, this is our flavor. So those were the seeds that were now planted to get to the point where I met this artist, and I met him in my friend's house. The friend was an artist.
Which are you referring to?
Oh, fair enough. I met this artist. Everyone was chilling in the living room. This person was at a table with a laptop and was just playing music. And this music was like at the time, this is the most glorious music I ever heard. So my curious self, I'm a very curious person. If someone could like describe who Jess is, I wouldn't be surprised if many people said this is a girl who asks a lot of questions. So I naturally gravitated to the guy and started asking questions before just to get to know him and stuff. By the end of that conversation, I don't know if that was the right choice to make or something, but I was like, you know what, I want to help this guy. And I think what I accredit it to is whenever I describe this to people, I fell into the music industry by accident on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. When I met this guy, I was like, yo, I want to help this guy. And I think that was very premature for me to do because I'm coming from a nonprofit background. Trying to enter a for-profit industry, and I'm using the altruism of like having this altruistic mindset
of wanting to help.
people. And everybody just love everywhere, and I'll give the shirt off my back to you, and I can give you my last $1 because I know God is gonna bring it back. I now use that mindset to enter into a industry that is a complete void of everything nice and altruistic and good. They chewed me up and spit me out the gutter. The first round.
Okay.
I was a skeleton of myself by the time I left to go back to Yankee for that. Like after my NYSC year, to go back to Yankee, I was done. I was like, I don't think I can do this.
So, how do you recover from that?
God, dude. To be honest, I don't even know. I think one, when I finished my NYSC year and like prematurely or naively entered the industry, I left for a little bit. I went to the UK. I went to the UK to go and hustle to see if I'll make some money to bring back to Nigeria. Because remember, after NYSC, I was like, okay, I'm staying back. But I didn't have bread to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And then my mom was like, come back home. Like, you did the year you wanted to do. Like, why are you still there?
Yeah.
And I'm telling her, like, no, I think I want to stay. So she thought I was bluffing. And I was like, man, even if you don't give me money, I'm staying. Like, I'm respectfully telling you I want to stay. So then I needed to make money. So my mom was like, she was scared. She's like, oh, well, this babe really wants to stay. Okay, let me just help her. So it's not like I've just left my daughter to just do whatever in Nigeria. So she gave me a little bit of money. Then I went to the UK to try to make a little bit of money because my rationale was that this artist I want to help, like want to start working with, they don't have money to pay me. So I need to go and hustle small money so I can hold myself for at least 6 months until like the first 100K, 50K start coming in. So between the ending of my service year and my stint in the UK, just a lot of things just happened. Like my life was just unraveling and unwinding, right? And I feel like those were the seeds of that premature decision to enter the music industry at the time I did. So by the end of my time in the UK, I was meant to come back to Nigeria. I went straight to America because, like I said, I was a corpse of I was literally on my last, I mean, I'm being dramatic, but like, it was tough mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. I was tired. I learned even when I wasn't even in Nigeria how cutthroat the cutthroatness of the Nigerian industry was touching me. I wasn't even in Nigeria. Whether it's just people just doing like very selfish things and not considering like, I'm a human being who, I'm gonna go off in a tangent. That's how the music industry is. If you're not sharp, right? Or if you're not sensible, or if you're not just, many people in our industry, very cold-blooded. Sorry, I don't know if that's the right way to be. I'm not sure. I'm not that. Maybe I'm getting there. It's a little cold in here. Maybe my blood is getting cold. I don't know. But just having that servitude, that's being of service to people thing, people were walking all over me. All over me. So by the time I had to go to America to go recover, I thought I was gonna be in America for like a month and then go back to Nigeria. I was there for like 10 months. But that whole 10 months I was scheming, okay, how can I come back to Nigeria? How can I come back to Nigeria? How can I come back to Nigeria? I come back to Nigeria, and that's when Jess Finesse is birthed. Because I'm not in the industry in the way I was ending of 2016.
Yeah.
My first gig I did when I came back to Nigeria in 2017 was hosting Nativeland. I've never hosted. I remember that. I've never held mic to host anything.
How did that come about?
That came about because, so remember I was here in 2016. Majority of so I come back and it's almost like I'm a re-IJGB again. Yeah. Since that I had that long stint of going back to America. So I come back and I connect with TZ. I had met TZ by way of my very good friend who has passed away. His name is Uzi. He was one
I went to camp with Uzi.
You went to camp with Uzi?
Yeah, NYC. Were you there though?
No, maybe he got redeployed to Ogun State because he was in my camp.
Oh no, yeah. So I think he got redeployed to Ogun State, but PPA. But we were in camp together.
Cool. Yeah. So Uzi's the one. If I had to credit my Jess Finesse, one, he's the one that named me Jess Finesse.
That's.
Two.
Yeah. Okay.
He's the one that introduced me to Alte. If I have to credit why I even know what Alte is, if I have to credit how I know what this movement is, what we're all doing right now, is that one amazing young man. Okay? Yeah. So he introduces me to DRB. Yeah. One night at Liquid or something. I don't even know if it's Liquid. What's that name? I think the club was called Liquid or something like that.
No Vapors?
vapor, liquid, gas. I don't know. Okay. So I meet BRB one random night. Mind you, I knew them already because I used to listen to their music when I was in America.
Yeah.
Right. But I met them. Met Bodge, met TZ, met Fresh O. So now I know TZ in that 2016.
Yeah.
Before I go back to Yankee, come back in December 2017, so I reconnect with TZ. So TZ's like, there's one day, I think it was December, because I moved back December 7th, 2017. So he was like, oh, let's go out. So we went to like a bunch of different events. And then he was asking me, so what's my P? What do I plan on doing when I come, like now that I'm back? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just, I'm open to whatever, da-da-da. So I think one of the stops we go to on that day was to go and meet Shani. I didn't know who Shani was before that time.
Okay.
Right? So they were having a meeting about this Nativeland. At the time, I didn't know that's what they were having a meeting about. They went to go and do the meeting. I was sitting where there was food. I was chowing. My business. I just got back. I see food. I'm hungry. I'm eating. So they finished the meeting, and then it's time. Either we go somewhere else or I go home. I can't remember. So he told me what the meeting was about. It was about Nativeland. I'm like, oh, I've heard of that. Because I think the first one they did was in 2016 or something.
Was that the one with Virgil?
I don't know. I wasn't here when they did that one. I just
The thing is, I remember I went to the first couple of Nativelands, but everything's a blur to me now.
True.
But I also know that was the first time I heard your voice and I knew who you were.
Okay, so
yeah.
When they told me they were having a meeting about Nativeland, I was like, oh snap! I remember I would see that online.
Yeah.
But I was not around when they did it.
Yeah.
Right. So he was telling me about it, and then he was like, he randomly asked, have you hosted anything before? I said, host anything? How? No. The most I've done is talk in church about the missionary work I was doing. Like, host
and the goodness of the Lord.
Yeah, the goodness of the Lord, and how he sent me to Uganda. Like, what do you mean, have I hosted anything? I was like, no, I haven't. So he was like, oh, you're looking for a host, right? And I was like, okay, well, you're looking in the wrong place, because like I've never hosted a concert before. So at first I was like, no, I'm not doing it. So I go home. And I'm like, you know what, Jess?
Open your mind.
Yeah, I was like, you move here, right? You moved here. And in order for you to really do what you need to do, you need to be open-minded, right? You need to be uncomfortable. You need to challenge yourself. You need to take risks. So I go back and
take risks to succeed.
Yeah, so I tell TZ, I'm like, you know what? If y'all don't find no host, I'll do it. I don't even know why I had the confidence to even agree to do that. Because like I didn't know the magnitude of this concert. Like I said, I've never hosted a concert before. I've only talked in the church. And what you talk about in church is not what you're talking about at a concert. You're trying to get thousands of people to
you see, that's something on Submarriage. That's something we talk about a lot.
What?
About performers. So you see guys like Rema, you see like Berna, and you see them obviously performing on like this big stage. But we have a theory that like that shit just starts from like looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, and it goes from you're just in the mirror talking to yourself, and then you end up having 20,000 people around you. So and see, there's nowhere that trains you to have like charisma and to talk to people than the way the church does.
You got it.
Yeah, so
because,
it kind of tracks.
Anyway, I was like, you know what? And this is me thinking that we're gonna find a host. So I was like, okay, if you don't find a host, I will do it. Not having no context, there's no manual how to host a concert in Nigeria. Like there's nothing like that, right? And I'm not even thinking about the context of like I don't even know what a Nigerian crowd is like. I'm not thinking none of that. I'm just like, let me just do it. Very blind. I don't know about now. I'm a very spontaneous person. I'm impulsive.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll say it's because I'm Aries. I don't know. And I'm very like, or at one point I was very like blindly, oh yeah, let's do it, without thinking like. Say,
but that's the mentality you need to have. So.
I don't have that no more. I'm too old.
No, but sometimes you like.
If you're not explaining to what I'm doing, I'm not leaving my house.
No, I mean, well, but sometimes you just need to like.
That thing has almost ruined my life. Please, I don't want. Let me have structure in my life. They came back and said, you know what? We want to do a thing. We're gonna do 3 hosts. We want you to be one of them. I don't know what gave TZ. I don't know why TZ decided. You know, TZ has believed in me a lot. If I'm being very honest, because I don't know what made him think I could do that. But he said, okay, we're gonna have 3 hosts. So the day of Nativeland comes, and instead of me to get there at 7 p.m., so I'm like, when do you want me to come? They say 12. I'm like, 12 for a 7 p.m. concert? That sounds kind of weird, but okay, I'll come.
Why is it 12?
Like 12 p.m. call time. Concert's meant to start by 7.
As at 12 midnight or
No,
12 in the
12
afternoon.
in the afternoon.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
this is
Yeah,
event,
yeah.
They say my call
So
time
like
is 12.
basically like mic check, all that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening, why? And this is accredited to maybe the service mindset I have, the mindset of serving. I get there and I'm like, pretty much roll up my sleeves, like, what do y'all need help with?
Yeah.
So I start doing things that's not even my business. Trying to help them arrange lineup or running around. Someone needs something, I'll be the one to get up. Be like, oh yeah, I'll help you get it. Just doing that the whole of the 7 hours. Mind you, I've been doing that for 7 hours. I'm still gonna get on stage and start hosting. It's not even like I've rested. Like the clothes I wore to host is the clothes I was running up and down, helping them get last minute stuff ready for Nativeland in. So what ended up happening though is that by the end of the concert, by like middle of Nativeland, I was the only one hosting. I don't know what happened to the other two hosts.
Was that which year did your brother?
2018.
Okay, I remember that. I remember that too.
I had to finesse that.
Yeah.
I told him this is my condition for hosting this.
I remember.
My brother got Chibueze got to perform.
Yeah, I remember that too.
And Tizo was trying to be difficult, but then they later was like, give him the opening slot. And I lied to you, that was the best slot to have. People were not tired. People were still active.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy because by the end of that performance, like my brother came up and said, bro, there's some people that know me here. Like people were like, oh my God, I didn't know that.
So out of curiosity, what would you say has been the biggest lesson you have learned in that period, in that time span? So you coming back and obviously just trying to figure shit out, and then you've built this wonderful career. People respect you as a tastemaker. People, you have cultural capital. Like, what would you say the biggest? Because obviously you're talking about initially coming and being exploited, but then there's a point where the exploitation stops. Yeah, and you kind of obviously understand your sense of worth or whatever. But yeah, so talk to me, like what would you say the biggest lesson learned in that like period was?
Everybody's winging it.
Okay.
Everybody's winging it, bro. I think before you enter into the deep, like before you enter industry, just like before I saw how the music was made and how I moved to Nigeria, you just look at like, oh my God, these artists are demigods. Oh my goodness, this stuff is amazing. Da, da, da. Then you now get in and you find out, oh, this music you guys are making, there's not even any structure here that you people are using to do the music or to sell the music or blow the music. It's the same thing with all the sectors I've worked in. Everybody's winging it. I don't know if that's casting it, but like even the biggest.
No, it's not. I mean, the thing is real. Like it's that element of
like, yeah, you're maybe winging it. The thing that differentiates the levels of winging it is maybe the intelligence someone has,
or the skill
skill someone has. But even with the skill and like the talent and the experience, last we're still winging it. As you are right now, right? Is anybody sponsoring this thing yet?
No.
As you are right now, in a sense, you're winging it.
Yeah.
This is self-funded, right?
Yeah.
You calling up your guys that you respect and be like, yo, I would love to, put you on my podcast. You winning it.
Yeah.
It's gonna get to a point that the sponsorships will come, the money gonna come. You don't gotta beg nobody to come. People will be begging to come, and sit in this chair and have this type of amazing conversation. But even in those moments, there's still gonna be aspects of winging it. When I moved back in 2017, I came with 3 luggages, $200 in my pocket, $300 in my pocket, $200K in my account. Didn't have a place to stay.
So what do you say?
I ended up, my friend, like I said, seeds, man. My friend had a place. He's like, oh, I have a free room. You can rent it for like, cause I don't know if I would call myself delusional self, was like, oh, if I move tonight, in 2 weeks, I'm gonna find a house. That I didn't know it was that crazy out here that it took me how many months.
Yeah.
But at the time, my friend was like, okay, you can sell my place for 2 weeks. As you're like, trying to navigate Lagos, and then you find a place and then you can pay your rent and move in and just carry your bags and move in, not knowing that as a single Igbo woman, it wasn't gonna be that easy.
Yeah.
So I come to my friend's house, drop my load. Immediately I'm, going up and down. I host Nativeland that month. I do 1-2 other gigs or something, so I have a little bit of pocket money or whatever.
Yeah.
And then find out that like I can't just get up and move. Like before I know it, January's here and the 2 weeks is up. So I'm like, you know what? Can I save for 6 months? So in that 6 months, I paid for the room at my friend's house. I was operating from that room, and then I now moved into my like first flat. But like I didn't have a security net when I moved here.
You know why for me is the complete opposite? Because I remember when I told my parents I was quitting my job as a lawyer, to work on culture
Do
custodian.
you still have the white wig that you wore when you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I
Sorry
do.
that I cut you off. I just want to know.
Yeah, I do. I have it in my wardrobe.
Okay.
So, and obviously my parents they were a bit like they weren't really here for it. But for me, the motivation at the time was that I felt that at the age I was like, what, 26 maybe? At the age I felt like there was never going to be any better chance or opportunity for me to try and chase my dream, like, make it happen. And again, I was living in their house. So it was not like I was paying rent and stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, I did it. It was hard, but I needed to go through that. And for me, it was kind of also like a thing where if it didn't work out, I would happily go back into full-time employment as a lawyer, knowing that I tried to work on my dream and it didn't work out. Like, so it wasn't meant to be.
Does your friend have that same security net that, like, oh, if he comes back tonight to be a scriptwriter and it doesn't work out, whatever parameters of success that he or she has for themselves, if they don't meet that, can they go back to full-time or like go back to the life they were living in America?
They're young enough that they can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm always like, yo, follow your dreams. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It wasn't
You're not paying light, Abby.
You're not paying light.
You're not paying rent, Abby. They don't have landlords. I'll come and tell them one random day, we're increasing your rent.
Landlord is their daddy.
They should move back. They should move back.
But
they should pull up on us.
But so talking about, like, obviously, your journey, discovering yourself in Nigeria, I think one thing that kind of obviously blew you up in the mainstream was you appearing on this podcast called Loose Talk, which is, like, the true OGs know what that version of Loose Talk was like. But talk to me about how did that happen?
Shout out to the young man who let me rent his room in his house for 6 months because he happened to also be the producer of Loose Talk at the time. I had since moved out from his from that property, like, along after we maintained friendship. Obviously, we see what each other are doing, things of that nature. So Loose Talk was trying to rebrand at the time.
After post Osage Whiskey meltdown.
So they were trying to rebrand at the time. I don't know what they sat down in that strategy meeting and discussed, that they thought that myself and my very good friend Moni, which, even though I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but today that we're recording the podcast, this show, it's her birthday. So happy birthday, Moni, if you see this. Chose the two of us to, like, come in as, like, the new co-host with AOT2 and Steve. Yeah, they literally wanted, they said my perspective was going to be a interesting perspective within the dynamic. I was probably the Alte babe of the group.
Yeah.
So maybe I needed to bring my Alte point of view. And when I say Alte, I mean alternative, like, in all aspects of life. Yeah. Like, just how I live in Nigeria, my story of how I moved back, alternative, how I move around in Nigeria, alternative, the things, how I dress, alternative, I guess I just oozed alternative, so they needed that POV. And then I agreed to do it. So we did it for about a year, I think.
Why did it end? What happened?
We left pause. We're, like, in the beginning phases of trying to figure out what does this look like being done on our own. And yeah, differences just kind of blossomed.
I'll tell you this.
Okay.
As someone who used to listen to Loose Talk, like, religiously, still do now and then, but obviously that iteration of it, I thought, like, the decision to bring you and Moni on was, like, next level, because that podcast had, like, a blind spot when it came to things of, I felt like, class and also gender. Yeah. So having, obviously, two people who, two women who moved back from America, kind of obviously have found their ways in this industry, like, it really elevated it. And the episode I always go back to is the Don Jazzy one, and it's something I'm gonna ask you about, because that episode is, like, for me, it captured why you were perfect for that role, because I think it had to do with this whole alter thing. For people who haven't listened to it, I don't know if it's still on the internet, but it happened to do with this whole alter thing. And Don Jazzy coming there, and he was kind of poo-pooing it, or he didn't really get it, or he didn't really see it. And Jess, as the alter ambassador, just took on this role of convincing him, and it was, bro, it was thankless work because the more you tried, the more he was kind of like obviously giving you pushback. But we end up in a situation where by the end of the episode, he kind of, acknowledges like the validity of what you were saying.
Well, when this guy let me take him to a Santi concert, that's the ultimate level of he heard what I said. I mean, this man he even dressed the part. See, Don Jazzy, see what you gonna give that man? You gonna give him his flowers. Okay,
Yeah.
50 decades from now, they better have him in history book. This man dressed the parts when we went to Santi's concert.
Talk to me about that one, that episode, and that like that whole, because I think that is very illustrative of how the mainstream kind of view the alter thing. But talk to me also about kind of marketing it in a way. When I say marketing it, it's not like you were selling it. You were
like trying to convince Don Jazzy to come.
No, just to understand your point of view and why your point of view was valid. And particularly because I think it's very interesting because we're in this, like, it's 2023 now, and we have this thing where basically I think there's this consensus opinion and viewpoint that the alter thing was kind of cannibalized by the mainstream, where all these guys kind of saw it, the thing they were kind of hating on, like, and they're like, oh, we're gonna copy this in little parts. I mean, I don't think it was. I don't think it was that like, this is a plan. We're going to like hop on this like vultures, but like you can't. I don't think you can look at someone like Rema and not see like elements of what like Santi was doing then in him, or from like even just like not even just the fashion, but even to like the style of music. But yeah,
two things. You have to say the question again because I don't remember the question.
I don't even remember what the question was.
Things. One, I remember somebody jokingly was like, "See, Jess is the cause of the fall of the alter movement because she took Don Jazzy to Santi's concert. That once she showed Don Jazzy this thing, they just carried them, just started running, and they never looked back." Then the second thing is I was recently interviewed by Ayo, who is the director of the Afrobeats The Backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a conversation. He was asking about this thing, and I'm like, I'm of the notion mainstream did not swallow the alter movements. They just became influenced by it, and when you're influenced by something, you like it. Like when you go to the store and you saw that pair of glasses, you like the pair of glasses. Something influenced your decision, whether you saw it on someone else that has a similar face shape as you, and you're like, oh, this is cool. And then you bought it for yourself. That movement was getting more exposure, like they wanted. And when something gets more exposure, more eyes are on it, there's more conversation around it. And people who are business-minded or very commercial-minded are seeing something where there's a lot of traction. It's being marketed to them. The marketing is clearly working, as we have seen, and then they now have adopted things from it. I don't think it was like you said an evil meeting where they're like this. I don't think it was that.
But you can definitely I don't think it was that, but you could definitely see the influence on like obviously what happened.
That they're influenced, but that's a lie. No, okay, I'm not gonna say it's a lie. Let me take that back. You're being delulu if you think that the alter movement did not influence what is happening in music today. They were laughing at us when we was recording. I said this when we were shooting Santi's Freaky video, and I was dancing like a possessed human being. And they were telling us, "Oh, you're channeling old Nollywood," and they were shunning us and stuff. And we were using camcorder to record that thing. People would come and say camcorder is low budget. Now people get Super 8s and vintage camera and go and get film stock to go and color grade their video to make it look like vintage camcorder style, like quality of video.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to say that they were not influenced, like they woke up and decided they were going to wear padlock on their neck and wear 20 they're joking. That person is joking. But anyway, the Don Jazzy question, you have to repeat the question.
The thing is, I don't remember what the precise question was, but I think what it was like convincing obviously someone like Don Jazzy.
He's a very easy man. Okay, I don't know if he's like that with everyone, but he was very easy to convince. He was very open-minded. I think there was like this brief conversation we were having internally about. I think I told them like, "Hey guys, I think I can get Don Jazzy." All the like people thought I was joking. Like they were like, "No, you can't." Like how, Don Jazzy? How? From where? How will you even reach the man to come be asking to come on Loose Talk? I said, okay, no problem. I just DM'd this man. And he was honest. He was like, my schedule is busy, but what day would you like me to come? And I told him, and he said he'll try. And that man pulled up early. Okay. And I say early because there are artists that you tell them come for something. This man came early. Like he reached there before me, sat in his car, patiently waited for me to get there. I walked him in. It was like God entered inside Paul's office.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And to me, I was like, what are y'all doing? Like, okay, like, is a human being like the rest
Yeah,
of
why
us?
you guys gassed?
What? People was like, I'm sure if somebody got off their Shanghai and left on foot, please walk on my shirt. Like, it was mind-boggling because I'm like, what is this? So we walk upstairs, go in the room. It's like I said, it's like a celebrity walked inside. I mean, a celebrity did, let me not say it like that. A celebrity did walk inside Paul's offices, but that's when I really saw the impact of like Don Jazzy in Nige. Because I don't remember if I've seen him, maybe, because I've seen him before. I've interacted with him before, asking him about that thing. So there was rapport there for me to even ask. It wasn't like I blindly asked. That was the first time where I'm seeing people like fawning over this man in a corporate setting. It's not like, oh, we're in a concert or we're in the streets. Like these are people that they have 9 to 5. They pay them salary. They left their laptops or whatever and was like really ecstatic to see this man. So that was one. So we record the episode, and I'm having a very, to me, I believe a very normal conversation with him, right? The perception to many of the people that watch the episode is that I was disrespectful. Do you even know who you're talking to? How can you be talking to Don Jazzy like that? Do you know who you're talking to? Who is this baby? She even Nigerian? How can she not know ABC? Without understanding that there's no one way to be Nigerian. The whole of the Nigerians that live on the globe do not understand the Nigerian history of Afro. If like understanding that even it's like kind of compared to like Gen Z. There's some people that Gen Z will be talking about, right? That millennials will be like, how can you be talking about something like that? Do you know the cultural impact of this person? No, they don't. They weren't born and they weren't of an age to be able to experience this person's cultural impact to even know who the person is. It was the same thing with me. Like, yes, I knew Don Jazzy was a huge figure. I wasn't here when Mushin to Mo hits like was making everybody die and cry. I wasn't. Like, so I'm not gonna have that same that same emotion towards it. So I'm having a very regular conversation with like the way I'm having a conversation with you. And I'm asking questions. And one thing about me, I'm a very like the way I ask questions, people say I ask questions very childlike, right? Like I'm very objectively curious. I can sit here and ask questions, even the most simplest of questions that someone will be like, why are you asking that? I'm asking that because I don't want to sit here and misinterpret or assume anything. So I'll ask the most basic question, like, yo, is your shirt really blue? If you tell me, like I have on purple glasses, maybe it's not blue or something like that. So I was having that type of conversation with Don Jazzy, and people were perceiving this like very negatively because the fan mail we were getting the next week was, or what I saw on Twitter was some people were bashing me.
I remember the backlash.
Some people were saying like, why would this babe have the opportunity to talk to a Don Jazzy? And I'm just looking at them like, bro, I asked him. He said yes. He came. If not for me asking him, y'all wouldn't have had the conversation. Like, y'all wouldn't have had the episode that y'all had. Left it alone. But Don Jazzy told me to, don't worry. Even I think he said his mom was even like, who is this babe talking to you like this? I think he told me that. I can't remember. But yeah, he was open and receptive and like, look what happened. Now he had the 2 biggest Afro pop artists. They're not even 25 yet. So those that listen, you see what you see.
One boy, one girl.
Both sides covered. So yeah, shout out to Don Jazzy.
And again, this goes back to like, because I think one of the things that we've been talking about that has been a real current point in this conversation is your sense of curiosity. And the thing is, I know you, but it's not like we're not best friends. So it's not that I know you like intimately, but that is clear. Like, where do you think like that sense of like obviously curiosity and this willingness to like obviously experiment and try things, where do you think it comes from?
Okay, first seed that was sown that contributes to why I am like this today, I'm gonna say, is the fact that I was born and raised in a country that allowed you to ask why. I feel like if I was born and raised in Nigeria, I will be not as outspoken or not as confident to question things as I am.
Okay.
When I moved here, culture shock. When people are complaining that I'm asking too many questions, or they're looking at me funny, like, why are you talking a lot? Or just like surprised that like a woman is, I guess, speaking the way I'm speaking or something. And to me, I'm like, I was born in a society that lets you question stuff. So that's the first seed. Question you and not punish you for it, or not like yeah, right? The second thing is that I don't know if there's anything in my star sign that alludes to this. I can't tell you. I don't follow it enough. Life is interesting. It's just interesting. Like, what is that? Okay, this thing is lighting me. Why does this thing light? Like, how does this thing work? I'm a very like, how does this thing work type of person. okay, is this AC is making me cool? How? Not like I want to become an AC technician. Not like I want to go and start making AC.
Just
I
want
just
to have
want to
like,
know how.
yeah, understand why. And
Right, this thing is impacting my life. It is chilling me while we're under these hot lights and we're recording the show. Why is it doing that? How is it doing that? That's how I fell into the music industry. That's how I fell into podcasting. That's how I fell into photography. That's how I fell into, like, that's how I've worked with majority of the people I worked with. What makes you tick? Why do you do this? So just a general interest that wasn't like killed. Like maybe if I was younger and I was curious, and like I said, I was born in Nigeria, people don't ask that question. Don't do that. You're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to do this. I would not be like how I am right now.
Okay. So I think the last like major role you've held was working at Jameson.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's interesting, obviously, because we've spoken about one, TZ's friendship and influence in terms of pushing you with like Nativeland.
Yeah.
But it's also obviously interesting because that was a role that TZ held and kind of defined for our generation.
Bro, facts.
What was that experience like? How did the Jimmy? Because I mean, I guess at some point you became synonymous with the Alter thing, so it makes sense that Jameson will lock it down because you were already doing stuff with them at the time, if I remember
When I had
correctly.
accepted the role, I had not done anything with them for like 2 years. But at one point, I did do something with them.
Yeah, because I know there was like a campaign.
Yes,
Yeah, that you were
TV
in.
also influenced.
Yeah.
Where Jameson took it to South Africa to shoot a billboard for a campaign that they were doing. So how was the experience working it? Like, how did I
So
get the job?
two things. One, how did you obviously wind up in that job? And the second, how like was that working that job for you? Like,
Okay.
what was that experience like?
How I got the job was a DM on Instagram from the current brand manager of Jameson at the time.
Hotar? Or who?
No, his name is Bayo.
Okay.
He's the current brand manager. When I was working with Jameson, like doing the billboard campaign, and
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
posting
yeah.
Jameson Connects, he wasn't the brand manager at the time. But at the time, he messages me randomly on Instagram, and two things. So one, I was actually working at a distribution company called The Orchard at the time. Like I had just started working there when he DM'd me, and then two, I don't remember what the DM said, and my phone is not here to start checking. I don't know if he explicitly used the word Jameson. I think maybe he introduced himself. I'm the brand manager of Jameson, or I work at Pernod Ricard. I would like to talk to you about something. So I thought he wanted to talk to me about like influencer work, not like giving me a full-time, like not like giving me a job.
Yeah.
So at first I was gonna be like, nah, not interested, because I had a sour perception of Jameson prior to that because of like, and it's not even just with Jameson, it's with brands in general. Brands were very exploitative that year.
100.
Like, and I didn't know. I didn't know we were being exploited left and right by all these brands. Not all of us, are cutthroat. Like, bro, if you're not giving money, go sit down. Or like, if you're not giving value, we don't want.
And also, we talk to ourselves.
We gonna talk. But yeah. So at first I was going to be like, no, I don't want to talk. But I was like, you know what? Let me just be open-minded. So I answered the DM. He's like, I would like to speak to you. I don't even remember what he says for it. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we have a virtual meeting, and he's asking about myself and asking like interview style questions, and I'm like, are you interviewing me? Like, what's going on? Like, I was just, because he did not say why he just was doing casual.
So yeah, like fact finding.
Yeah, fact finding. So I'm like, bro, you're the one messaging me. Why are you asking me about myself? So by the end of the meeting, he was like, yeah, the reason why I reached out is because we're looking for someone to fill the role of being the Jameson brand ambassador for Nigeria. So at first I'm like, you're joking. Like, from where to where? Jameson has so this is my perception, right? Jameson has not talked. I've not done anything with Jameson in 2 years. I didn't apply for this job. I didn't even know this job existed. Like, I knew TZ was an ambassador. I know Alani was an ambassador. I don't know a single thing of how they got there.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know it was this thing where they work in corporate. I was just like, what do you say? Like, what does this mean? I don't understand. So at first I was like, he was like, are you interested for me to shortlist your name? So I was like in my brain, like, I already have a job, so I don't know. But I was like, you know what? You can send my name in. I didn't think they were gonna call me back. Had no belief in my body that they were gonna call me back, because my perception was, Jameson, I've not worked with them for 2 years, so I don't know where this is coming from. But fine, you can put my name in. Left it alone. Was going about my new job at the Orchard as senior label manager or whatever. And then lo and behold, I get an email saying like, hey, the marketing director. I don't even know if they told me the person's role, but they're like, hey, this person wants to have a quick chat. They would call these things like quick chats.
Yeah.
So maybe to make you keep thinking like, oh, just informal conversation.
Yeah.
So I had like 3, 4, 5 quick chats. But the 5th quick chat is now the director of HR asking me like, questions. I'm like, well, if the HR director is talking to me, that means these people trying to give me a job. And then by the end of the conversation, it's like, yeah, we want to offer you a role. So I had left Orchard to go to Pernod Ricard to work with Jameson. I thought it was I think the rationale behind why I did it was because at the time, so I was working as senior label manager at the Orchard, right?
Yeah.
Very client facing. It's more rigid. It's not a creative role.
Yeah.
Like you're helping labels and
operational structure. Yeah.
And you're a liaison between the clients and the company. Versus being an ambassador, I was like, oh, this seems like it's more of my alley.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm gonna be the face of something. I'm already out in these streets anyway, hustling. So like, I'm just gonna carry the Jameson on my back and just be hustling just with Jameson.
Jameson, yeah.
So that's kind of like, and then I also was like I said, the seeds of humanitarianism. I was like, okay, if I get this role and I'm in this position of like influence and authority, then I can help my guys or I can help my people, like not like in a nepotism way, but like in an objective way. Like before that Jameson, there's many companies that have come to me or people that worked at companies, whether they were brand managers or whatever, and asking me, oh, so how this Altet thing, how do we support you? AK, how do we tap in and exploit it? Many of them would ask me about this. Nobody was paying consultation fee. Nobody decided to give me a job. This was the first time where you can see like a big corporate wanting to hire creative to, say that we know that creatives are the bedrock of like why we are, perceived the way we are in this country. So Jameson, the brand ambassador role that Pernod Ricard has is freaking world is what sets them apart from every other maybe company that doesn't use brand ambassadors in the way that they hire us to be to work with them.
Okay, and why did you leave?
I wanted to rest. It's a very tasking role, like very tasking.
I mean, so the thing is, we worked on something together, like, and I think I came out of that again, like, with just like reinforced respect for you and what you were doing, because I saw how deep that role was. And again, I think it's also very thankless because like there was a lot of like you were exerting yourself a lot on like different things, like from doing calls, planning things, to pulling up to things. Like Jess will be the first person there and like the last person to leave, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And finally, almost finally, I'm very curious about the fans. Where does that come from?
They come from the markets.
No, obviously, I know it comes from the markets.
JK.
Like, how did that become part of like your identity?
I'm just being funny. Long story short, because of my. So okay, you know how when you're used to something or something is common to you, don't look at it as anything.
Yeah.
Versus somebody who it's not common to them, they find it like this is the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah. So
like that's me with like African print. That's me with Ankara. Like I'm the person I'll wear Ankara heads to Tangals. Like people be looking at me like Mama Africa. Like why are you doing that? But in America, like that's a very like people love that.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a American-born Nigerian babe who Nigerian culture was secondhand to her. You're now immersed in it. Bro, I'm having a field day. Like, carry me to the market every day. Let me go and be buying raffia this, raffia that, and be putting it in my Nigerian Lagos like house, in my Nigerian Lagos aesthetic. So anyway, I'm somebody who like all these things that maybe in Nigeria, like you look at it, this is what market women are using to fan themselves, or like this is what they were using to fan charcoal iron or like smoke or firewood, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like these things are freaking awesome. So 2019. I get evicted from my flat unlawfully, all the unlawfully, unethically,
illegally,
sexismly, all of them. I get evicted from my flat. Didn't know my rights. I didn't know like, oh, your landlord can evict you without 3 months notice, whatever.
Yep.
I packed my whole apartment in 24 hours and left. Like they came to me Saturday night saying, we don't know who you are. You're squatting here, da da da. Even though that was a lie. And then they said you need to leave tomorrow. We're calling police. I didn't know my left from my rights. I didn't have any person to ask like, can they do that? I just packed my load and I leave. So I packed my load. Mind you, I would like to say I'm pretty fashionable, you know, in my own unique
I think
way.
you are.
So I took like my clothing very seriously. When I was moving back to Nigeria, I would bring it in section. Like I was bringing my closet in section. Like every time I'll go and visit, I'll carry 2 luggages full of my clothes until I finished carrying everything here.
Yeah.
So I had all my stuff in this country, like all my wardrobe, my shoes, everything. So when I got evicted, I had to pack all this stuff. Didn't have anywhere to put it. You know, this very good Samaritan was like, yo, like you can keep it in my. My landlord's driver was like, please don't tell my boss I'm helping you, but you can come and keep your things in my where I'm staying. So this guy is staying around Lucky Conservation side, right? This just once again, these life events that just feel like life altering to me. Like this man lives in a BQ or something that is worse than a BQ. And he was like, yo, you can just keep all your load on this side of my house. I literally took up half the space of this man's BQ with my stuff.
Yeah.
And this is somebody who is helping me. Like I'm the one, me that has maybe thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of, you know, merchandise and like clothes. I'm a collector. Like I thrift a lot of stuff. I go to vintage shops a lot. So a lot of these pieces are like, oh, things I've spent over the years collecting. Carried half this stuff, filled this man's house. Thought I was gonna find a place in 1 month. Didn't find a place in a year. So I left that stuff there for a year. When I went back to go get it, you know the Bible verse that's like all the birds of the earth, or all the don't keep your possessions on earth or something because the birds of the earth will eat it, something like that. I can't remember it verbatim. That's literally what happened to my stuff. All my stuff got destroyed. I saw a rat. I saw.
Was he still there? Or had
He was still there. He was still there. So that side of the place, so his side where he was staying, it was nothing happened to it. But where my stuff was, everything was destroyed.
Wow, that's crazy.
Everything, window, water, earth, the elements of the world, everything destroyed my stuff. So I thought it was very symbolic. Like, oh, you're holding on to these things, right?
Your earthly possessions.
I'm gonna take your earthly possessions away. Because technically that's all I had. I didn't have no house at the time. I was looking for a house, finally get a house. Now all my possessions are destroyed. So what I ended up doing, I was like, you know what? I told them, because this place is almost like a village or like a slum where this place is. I told them, bring all the stuff out, open everything. I was able to like pick 1, 2, 3 things. I said the rest of the things, anyone in this place that wants it, they should come and carry it. I don't care. Like this is stuff I don't like, things that are expensive, things that are $2, everything is there. Carry whatever you want. So I remember I had carried the few belongings back to where I was staying at the time. And then I remembered I left something. I was looking for something. So I told my friend, said, yo, I'm looking for something. This thing's important to me. Can we try to go back to that place and see if it's there? I don't know why I felt that, because I just told everybody, enjoy yourself, like holiday, bro, like take everything. So I go back, I don't find the thing, but what I see is like, I'm seeing one guy wearing my old Lakers jersey. I'm seeing another person wearing my Ray-Ban. I see another person carrying my shoe. And I was so, I don't know, it made me feel very satisfied. I'm like, wow, this thing was rotting away. Like I was holding it. How many shoes can you wear at one time?
You filled the whole village.
Yeah, like now these people are taking things that to me, I'm like, I'm hoarding it in my house. And they having a field day. I don't know if some people sold it. Maybe they're hawking it in the road. Maybe one day I'll see my shoe. They're selling for 10K on the street. I don't know. Maybe it's in somebody's market, Balogun market. Who knows? I don't know. But it just felt like, it felt fulfilling to me. Like first, it felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. And then two, I was like, oh, it's cool. Like, look at people appreciating something that I wasn't appreciating. So let me get to the reason why I brought that up. So I didn't have that. So when this happened, I don't have no money. I just pay rent. And I'm making Naira. One thing people don't understand, I make Naira like everybody else. I don't make dollar. Just because I have my accent, I'm Nigerian. Okay? My salary comes in Naira. When they pay me, it comes in Naira. I don't have bread stacked up anywhere. If it's bread that's stacked up, is a whole lot of Naira that's depreciating every day because our economy is just not what it's supposed to be. So I didn't have that much clothes. I had like maybe a couple pairs of pants, a couple shirts, 1, 2 pairs of shoes or whatever. So at the time, I think I had like 3 fans, right? I remember I went viral once when I went to Yankee and I went to my friend's wedding and I wore the Ashebi and then I had one of these pants.
I remember that. Right? I've seen that before.
It's not, so it went viral and to me I was like, this doesn't seem deep to me, like this is a fan I really like. I wore it with my fit or whatever. And then I realized like, oh, this is like a fashion accessory. I already had assumed it as a fashion accessory when I wore it, but then I was like, when I came back to Nigeria, I just kept doing it because I needed to spice up my 3 jeans and my 2 shirts every day. So why not get different fans to match with your jeans? match with your shirt, match with this. So as I was slowly building up my wardrobe, I was also building up my fan collection. So now it's just embedded in me. Like the reason why I have my pink fans because I got pink glasses on. It's like if I can leave my house, if I don't have these, I'll tell them turn around. I need to go and get something. I left it in my house, and it's my fan.
Okay. So we've reached the end. So I have 2 final questions for you.
Okay, I'll try to answer them as short as possible.
One of them is, if there were any people like you would love to see me have this conversation with, who would they be?
There's a young man that goes by the name of Party Boy, aka Dafe.
Okay.
He's known for a lot of things, but most notably, he's Victoni's manager.
Okay.
And I think he would be someone that would greatly, like I think a lot of people need to hear his story because he reminds me of myself. Obviously a more successful version. Like I left the music industry and was like, I'm not doing this. He's still there.
Yeah.
And see the fruits of his labor with like, you know, the work that he and Victoni are doing, just the other stuff that he does. Like he does a lot of stuff. And I remember the first conversation I had with him that was kind of like this, obviously not with cameras. And he was like telling me about the stuff he did, and I was like, wow, nobody would know that looking at him. Like nobody, just like there's many things you said you didn't know that about me because like, you have to sit down and ask me. Because maybe I'm just going around thinking I don't have a problem, or I go around like, you know, just hustling and like doing what needs to be done or whatever for the culture or whatever. Is the same thing that I got when I spoke to him, and I was like, yo, it would be really mad. Like, do you do interviews or do you like tell your story to people? He's like, I don't know if he has before, but like it would be really mad if he was on this pod or on this show. So I'll put in word.
Okay. Anyone else?
When I get out. Who else? The Pith Africa boys.
So that's Cosmos.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you can get all of them, if you can get 4 chairs to fit in this small space, I think you should do it.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Off the top of my head, so that we don't waste time, those are like my 2 top of mind. No, there's one other guy. His name is Sounds. He's an artist.
I think I've seen I've definitely seen someone recommend him.
You should interview him.
Okay.
He's really. I did some work with him that required me to hang around him for like 10 hours. 10 hours well spent.
Did you do that today?
Not today, no.
Okay. Finally,
Yep.
Last question.
Yep.
You've sat down with me. You've allowed me ask you 20 million questions. You've been open. Is there any question you have for me?
Oh, that's a good way to round this up. That's thoughtful. Do I have any questions for you? Give me 2 ways. If let's say I asked you, like, let's say you're a makeshift consultant right now.
Mm-hmm.
2 ways I can make 2 innovative ways I can make money with photography in Nigeria that are not like the blatant ways, out of the box ways.
It's funny, now that you said this, there's something I would ask you off air,
Okay.
like if you're interested in doing, because it's kind of tallies with something I'm working on for next year.
Okay.
I'm not trying to think 2 out of the box ways you can make money through photography. And again, because I don't want to give out all the ideas I have on here or whatever, but like I think the first thing would be, and I mean, it's not like there's nothing out of the box in this, but obviously have a concept. So like there are different things. Think about, as someone like you now, for instance, who understands the internet and what kind of triggers or inspires people, you want to do something that, because I think at the end of the day, the strongest currency we have in this like economy and like climate is attention. So what could you do that will get your attention? So one, it could be think of like iconic images. So for instance, one thing I even just thought of was the Obasanjo and Jimmy Carter picture. Like things like that.
I remember that image.
Yeah, so imagine if you could like recreate them, like, you know. So that's like one of the first things I would think of is, okay.
Someone hasn't done that already? Not like that would stop me from doing it, but that has not been done yet.
Not that I know of, but my point is, think of things like that.
Noted.
Yeah, like that basically people that already kind of obviously people feel strongly about and then try to recreate it. I think the second thing I would say is, I think, the most out of the box thing I can think of is just like a fire concept. But what that concept is, I can't say because obviously I'm on the spot. and I think. But is that the like your primary like platform or format now these days? Because I know you do that, but I didn't.
When I say it's my primary, I mean it's in the multi-hyphenate, spots.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm probably the most passionate about, out of all the other things that make me money.
Interesting.
But I can't. You're gonna make this podcast be 2 hours long, and
No, I think we're done.
yeah,
We're done.
So I'll talk about that after.
But thanks, Jess, for
No problem.
gracing us with your presence and being gracious enough, to like answer all the questions I asked you.
Oh,
it's been a really good one. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye guys. Catch you next week.